I began to write letters. I wrote hundreds and hundreds of letters, 600 or 700 letters. I wrote letters from the United States all the way to Canada. I wrote presidents of the United States of America, governors of the state of Missouri, congressmen, senators, representatives. Yeah, I mean, you name it, I wrote them. Oprah Winfrey, big O, I wrote her too. I wrote, you know, movie stars, entertainers, sports figures. I wrote the church. Didn't believe in them, but I heard they helped sinners, so I said, well, I qualify, right? You name it, I wrote them. But then I saw this segment on television, on a 60 Minutes program. And they was helping this woman get out of prison in Texas who had served 9 years for a murder she didn't commit. This is 1990. And I said, I need to find out where they at. They got to help me too. And I found out he was located in Princeton, New Jersey. And so I wrote them in 1990. And they wrote me back. You know what they said? They said, yes, we do have free those that are innocent in prison. But we're a small organization with limited resources. We get thousands and thousands of requests every year from inmates who claim to be innocent. And out of all those requests, we take 2, maybe 3 cases a year. If we take your case, it will be 10 years before we get to it. This is 1990. They said 10 years. I said, well, good. I'm going to write you for 10 years. And I did. Sometimes twice a year. They took my case in 2000. And then they were able to get me exonerated in 2008. So that was an 18-year process. How many of you all are 18 and raise your hand? Anybody 18? 17. See, I mean, your whole life, I was fighting to get my freedom. I'd already served 6 years. Your whole life. And I'm saying, it wasn't easy. So here's what they went back and they found out. That there was a woman who was a gas station attendant the night the crime was committed. She came to my trial. She came to my trial. She was at my trial back in 1985. This woman told the police, the court officials, when she saw who they had on trial in 1985, she told them, you got the wrong man. That's not the man I saw commit this crime. That man is too dark. She saw that they had a dark man on trial rather than a light-skinned guy. She said, he's too dark. Same thing I used to be ashamed of. My dark skin was now coming to my rescue. I can tell you right now, I'm dark and beautiful. It helped me, being dark helped me. Black is beautiful. I see now why I used to sing it years ago. Now, she said this in 1985. This lady came all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, not a young woman. And she said she was waiting for a chance to tell the judge in court there's an innocent man in prison. His name is Darryl. This didn't come out until 2007. From 85 to 2007. That's a long time. Anything could happen to this woman. That's a miracle for me. There was another piece of evidence that was not revealed to me. One of the key witnesses for the prosecution, they said that this guy had a couple of convictions, was facing a couple of years in prison. When they discovered the man had 12 convictions. He was facing 30 years in prison. He had done something like this in 1981 in another murder case where he was making deals to get out of his trouble. And he had also been on record as a perjurer in another case. They caught him lying. A judge caught him lying before. And in my case, 5 months after he testified against me, he signed a sworn affidavit saying he lied in my case, submitted perjured testimony and wanted to recant it, wanted to retract it. None of this came out until 2007. All this information was there for all these years. But I want to share with you something that's very important, is that in 1998, that I received the death penalty, that's the same year I would have been executed. Same year. And this is a transformation for me. Had I been executed in 1998, I would have never saw my daughter, I would not be talking to you. None of this, in my life would have, come to pass. But I wrote a letter, most important letter I ever wrote, and I wrote it to Jesus Christ. Didn't believe in him, but I challenged him, and I'm not pushing religion or nothing else. I know you don't do that in schools. I just want to tell the story, is that if you really, all things you and I know I'm innocent, you help me get out of this place, I'll tell the world and I'll serve you. That's what I said, literally. And I knew I had to get this letter, put it under my mattress, I had to get rid of it, because the guards, if they find a guy writing letters to God or to Jesus in prison, you think they don't want it in society. In prison, they will put you in a mental hospital because they think you're nuts. They don't want you to communicate with nobody's God in prison like that. you crazy. This is what they say. That's how backwards that thing is. So it's not, if God ain't in there, then what is? Hell and horror. Nothing but hell and horror. And I tell you, every day in that prison, every day, when I got there in the 80s, 3 men got stabbed. No exaggeration. They got archives and records to prove. Every day. Sometimes a correctional officer. And it was a guard, a Captain Mitchell, who started a youth program that I was involved in. And he was a religious man. He used to always talk to me about God. And I said, man, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about nobody God. He said, Darryl, you in hell. You are living in hell. And you don't want to hear about God? What's wrong with this picture? And for many years, I still did. And my grandmother's words came back to echo in my head. Somebody had to say it to me over and over and over. Sometimes some things are beyond human intervention. It needs something divine to work. Something divine to break through. So I'm glad to be in front of a group of young people to talk to you about my experience, Chris, and Heather, Bill, and at some point Jenny will talk about, her experience, because every one of you are more important than anything we've said up here today. It's about your life. Giving yourself a chance in life. And if it takes 1,000,000 tours or 1,000,000 talks to save one of you all, this is important to us. And we'll do it to keep you out of that hellhole. And so today I'm not bitter about what they did to me. I'm better. I'm bigger than what I had to go through. It arrested me. God rescued me. It was a tragedy, but it's going to be used for a treasure. As not to anybody to go and talk about hope and forgiveness, because I had to forgive some people. A lot of people before I came out of prison. That was another prison, a psychological prison that was spoken about by Chris. That was another prison for me. Unforgiveness and hate was keeping me in prison. And I know some of you all, and all of you, at some point in your life, you're going to run into some situation that's going to rub you the wrong way. It's all about how you react to it or respond to it. You're going to have to make a decision, one way or another. So, and I'm thanking you all. I know my time is about wrapping up. And if I pass the mic on to, Jay, thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, we can try to, I guess, give you some feedback on it. Thank you.